We're going to be talking about facial proportions in this video. So the first question is, what are proportions? We use proportions to find ratios between objects. So we're comparing one part to another, in this case facial features. So let's get started. First we're going to draw a head shape. So it's kind of like an egg shape. Don't worry too much about being perfect. You just want it to be a little bit larger on the top than it is on the bottom. You can worry about jaw lines, cheekbones, and your chin a little bit later. So just try and make it as even as you can. It's okay if it's sketchy. And always remember, draw it light until you get it right. Then you don't have to start with new paper. So what we're going to do first is divide the head in half, going both directions. So we'll start with a vertical line. You notice I'm drawing with my pencil on the side instead of the regular pencil method. Holding it like this allows me to be a little bit looser, and it also forces me to draw lighter. So I'm not pushing down so hard on the paper, and that really helps to erase things if I make a mistake. So we have our vertical line here. Try and make sure it's even on both sides. If you want to check, a good tool is your pencil. So I'm going to hold my pencil right up against this line and then grasp it at the edge of the other, or at the end of the head, and then we'll move over and check. And as you can see, it lines right up, so we know we're good. If you aren't comfortable with this pencil method, you can use a ruler instead. So now we're going to divide the head in half vertically. Or I guess the line will be horizontal. So I'm going to check and make sure I'm going to be in about the right place. And I'll measure. Good. Alright, so now my question for you, what do you think goes at this line right here? Contrary to what you may think, the eyes are actually located halfway down on your head. So at this line, this is where your eyes are going to be. So you may be really confused about this, but keep in mind we're measuring from the top of your head, not where your face begins. So this is not your forehead, this is the way top of your head. So you're going to have some hair right here, and that's going to make a little more sense once you add in hair. So I want you to look in a mirror or at a photograph of yourself and use a pencil to measure this so that you can see from the top of your head down to your chin, your eyes should be right in the middle if you're looking straight on at a mirror. Now we need to make the placement of the eyes. So what I'd like you to do right now is use your pencil and, looking in a mirror, measure the width of your eye. Now I want you to hold that measurement with your finger on the pencil and measure between your eyes. What do you notice? You'll notice that your eyes are one eye width apart. And if you measure across your face, you'll notice that your entire face is 5 eye widths across. Now to get this measurement to be accurate, you want to make sure that you're holding your pencil flat and not curving around your face. So when you begin a portrait, you need to make sure that you have 5 even eye widths across your face, unless if your face is at an angle and it's not looking straight on. So let's draw those in. This is usually the most difficult part, is to get the 5 going. Once you do it a lot, you start to see it and you get some practice with it. So I always start with the middle, and then I'll just kind of mark my place as I go along. So I notice I need to be just a little bit wider apart. And I think I might want to check to make sure that this is also even. Yeah, that was the problem. I wasn't quite even here. And now I'll fold that in. Good. Alright. So now we have the measurements for our eyes. And so what we have here, this is where your eyes are going to be. I'm just going to draw like a small placeholder. We're going to get into drawing more lifelike eyes in just a little bit. So here we have eyes. Now what I would like you to do is draw a line halfway from the eyes to the chin. So we'll measure that. I'm going to estimate here and then check it. Again, remember, when you are drawing these lines, make sure you draw them lightly because you will have to erase them. You don't want to have a portrait going where you have really dark lines drawn down the middle of the face. That's not going to look too good when you're all finished. So, depending on your face, sometimes the nose might sit a little bit higher. Sometimes it might be up here a little bit more, maybe like a third instead of a half. So this is really dependent on what you look like. You know, not everyone has the exact same proportions, but these proportions are a good guideline of what things should look like. So check on yourself first before you just say, oh, everything's at the halfway point. Because when I check with my nose is a little bit shorter, so mine's almost at a third, so mine's up a little bit higher compared to some people. Like if you have a longer nose, it's most likely going to be at the halfway point. Now what I'd like you to do after you've got your halfway or 1/3 way line drawn, I want you to measure the width of your nose. So you're going to kind of hold your pencil up to your nose, look in the mirror, and measure how wide it is. Now, does it correspond with anything? Is that measurement the same as anything else on your face? So another way to check is if you hold your pencil straight up from the outside of your nostril, does it line up with anything else? Our nose is about 1 eye width wide. So if we drew a straight line down from the inside corner of the eyes, that should be the width of your nose. And again, you know, some people have wider noses, so this might not be the same, but almost always our nose is 1 eye width wide. Because sometimes people with wider noses have farther, or their eyes are set apart just a little bit farther. So drawing these lines really lightly down the side of the face is going to give us the width of our nose, and it'll give us kind of like a guideline to go with. Now what we're going to do is draw another line halfway from the bottom of the nose to the chin. So I think right about here. Exactly. So this line, most of us are going to want to think it's the middle of the mouth where our two lips meet. However, it is not the middle. This is where the bottom of the lips fall. So if I were to draw some lips here, this is the bottom of the lips. That's very important that you remember that. Otherwise, you're going to have this huge amount of space between your nose and your lips, and it's going to look pretty awkward. So what we need to do now is to find out how wide our mouth should be. So I want you to take your pencil and hold it straight up and measure upwards from the corner of your mouth. So right at the edge of your mouth. So I'll just kind of draw this in to give you an idea. So hold your pencil straight up from the corner of your mouth. What does it line up with? Usually the corners of our mouths line up somewhere between the inside edge of our iris. So this line right here, the inside edge, that's what I have it lined up with. That's what my mouth lines up with. Or the center of our eye, which would be the pupil. So you need to check your own anatomy to be accurate. So mine is about right here. Yours might be out a little bit farther. Again, everybody's different. So we'll just draw these straight down. So now we have all of our facial features mapped out. So we have the eyes, nose, mouth. But there's more to drawing a portrait than just the eyes, nose, and mouth. So let's figure out where our ears go. So I'd like you to line your pencil up with your earlobe. Remember, keep your pencil flat like it's up against a mirror. Don't curve around your face. And what does that earlobe line up with on your face? Unless if you're elderly or have stretched or gauged ears, your lobes should line up with the bottom of your nose. So we're just going to draw a line straight across here. So this is where your earlobe should be. And we'll just follow it over here. So your earlobes usually line up with the bottom of your nose if you are looking straight on at the mirror or a camera. Now the tops of your ears, what does that line up with? The tops of your ears, if you are looking straight ahead, should line up with your eyebrows. I mean, unless if you draw on your eyebrows, generally, they are lined up with your head. So, top of your ear should line up with your eyebrows. Some people, it might be your eyelid, just depends on where your brows are at on your face. So your ears are actually a lot bigger than you think. So we'll just kind of put these in. Usually if you're looking straight on, you don't see a lot of your ears. So these would be the ears of someone whose ears stick out pretty far. Now, we don't want our head to just be floating in space. So we'll need to attach it to something. So that would most likely be our neck here. A common problem with beginning drawers is to make the neck too skinny. So a little neck like this. Well, you know, our heads are about 7 pounds, so we need something sturdy to keep it in place. So I want you to look closely to see where your neck seems to begin on your head. What do you notice? Usually our necks begin where our jawline juts out. So I'm just going to kind of give this person a jaw here. And again, this shape is absolutely different for everybody. So we'll say this is a very chiseled looking fellow. So here we have a jawline. So usually our neck begins where our jawline juts out. So generally people with stronger jaws have wider necks. And depending on your gender, guys' necks are usually a bit thicker. Ladies' necks tend to kind of curve in a little more gracefully. But you still don't want to have a huge curve because remember, there's a lot of muscle going on there that's holding everything in place. So here we are. So remember, you want to look closely at your own anatomy to figure out what to draw. If you're not really beefy, you're not going to have a very big neck. Then usually the neck kind of slopes outward just a little bit. This is your trapezius muscle. It's kind of like the top of your shoulder area. Some people, like if you lift a lot of weights, these are going to be a lot bigger. They might start out farther. Some people, you might not have too many of them, so you might have a bit more of a graceful neck. And the last major feature of this tutorial is the shoulders. A very common problem that I see is to have a huge head and tiny little shoulders. So I want you to imagine this. If you were to take your head off, we'll ignore the blood and all that gross part. Take your head off of your shoulders and lay it sideways. You would notice that your shoulders are about 2 sideways head widths. So they're a lot bigger than you'd think. Obviously, I don't have that much room on my page here to show you some shoulders, but if you did have room, we'll draw a little head here. And there's the neck. So our shoulders are going to come out and down. That's going to give us a much more substantial body than what most people draw, which would be a skinny little neck and tiny little shoulders. You know, if you're drawing a cartoon, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to look realistic, you want to make sure you have some extra room here so that you can actually fit your body in the space. So, unless if you're wearing shoulder pads or football gear, your shoulders will probably be sloping down slightly rather than going straight out, unless if you have extremely good posture. So use your pencil to kind of see the angles made by your shoulders. Is it going down? Is it going out? Are they going up? What are you doing? So use your pencil to kind of check these angles. And from here you can begin drawing in the hairline and shaping your jaw, chin, and cheekbones. So this part doesn't really have any specific rules, so it's different for everybody. So you need to look closely at your face, use your pencil to find the right angles. So say I want to add some hair here. Hair is different for everybody, so if this person were bald, then we'd be done. However, we want to add some hair. So is your hair parted? Do you have long hair, short hair, curly hair, straight hair? This is all a big thing. Guys, keep in mind your hair does usually go in front of your ears a little bit. So we'll just say this is a fellow here, since we already gave him such a nice jawline. So you usually have kind of some sideburns, right? Your hair also comes off of your head, unless if it is shaved really close. So if, say you have thicker hair, this is going to make a big difference. We'll just kind of give it a shape here. I'm going to start drawing a little bit darker so you can see it better. Alright, so that would be a basic hairline. If I wanted to have him have long hair, maybe I'd kind of add in a part here. Give some little pieces coming off. So your hair is really different for everyone. You just need to make sure you're looking and seeing where everything falls. And voila, this is the basic proportions for a human face.